Okay. By someone's standard, your work is bad. There, I said it. Was that so hard to hear? Someone out there, wherever and whoever they might be, by their standard, your work is subpar. Your art is mediocre and your idea is just not going to work. Now, I'm not here to hurt your feelings or get you to quit making your art. It's actually the complete opposite, because I think so often the question that comes up when we are making something is, will they like it? Well, let me give you the spoiler. They might not. Another spoiler, knowing that could be the thing that changes your creative practice. So stick with me to the end, where we'll talk about the big upside to all of this, because this is a nuanced concept and you have to understand the two big concepts together. Okay, introduction over. Let me tell you a story of my start in graphic design as an example. Overall, I enjoyed the college experience. It was a sandbox of software, ideas, and friendships. And one thing that I didn't really get very much of, though, was criticism. It's not because I was really good or anything. It was the culture around us was just more, I guess, focused on being encouraging and giving us each the freedom to explore. Now, that approach definitely had some pros and cons. One of the negative ones being that I didn't really have to confront the idea that my work would be actually actively disliked by someone, not even just tolerated. I had experienced people tolerate my creative work at times, but I never had anybody dislike it. That possibility was a bit scary and foreign until I got to the real world. I was fresh, young, and ambitious, and I was just eager to paint the world with Photoshop, Illustrator, and maybe even a little InDesign. And then one day I had a boss come look over my shoulder at a design that I was working on. "I hate it," they said. I remember sitting there frozen and confused in my chair. I asked what they hated about it, and they just said, "I just hate it." And that was it. I was left to pick up the pieces and start from scratch without really any sort of new information or direction. Now, quick side note, there is obviously such a thing as constructive criticism, and this was not that. It was wildly unhelpful, and I would even go so far as to say toxic. But at the same time, I can see some ways that I grew through it. Not because of my boss. I had to figure it out for myself, but over a longer period of time, I would come to form a bit of my identity around that moment. And that pivot of who I was in light of my work could have gone in a really bad direction, but thankfully, because of helpful people speaking into my life and just by grace, I was able to learn something through it. And that is, by someone's standard, my work is bad, and your work is bad. I know it's lost some of its shock factor, since that's also what I said at the start of this conversation, but it's true. Some people will not like your work. And for you, that might not be so easy to process. You've seen the possibility of a creative endeavor, and then that big question of what will people think comes to your mind, and it's like this cosmic triple dog dare to stay in your lane and don't even think about touching the turn signal. And I would understand where you're coming from. I get why that may be hard. Maybe you've gotten stuck in this pattern of thinking that your work is you, that the quality of what you make defines the quality of who you are. Can I just say that your raw personhood is so much richer than anything you'll ever make. Whatever perfect and complete work that you have in your head, writing, design, a quilt, a table, a film, it's not you. It might express you, it might be important to you, it might be enjoyable to you, but it's not you. It's not your meaning. Is this clicking? It's definitely something that I have needed to hear at times, and I get pretty lost in what it is that I'm putting out into the world. and I let my identity get wrapped up, sucked in, or joined with my work. We should not find our worth in our work, and we definitely should not find it in the negative words of others, because criticism is inescapable. Okay, pop quiz. Name one person in all of history whose work is unanimously adored. I know what you're thinking. Adele sings her songs directly into my veins. Yes, she's the voice of a generation, but there are also people amongst that generation that just don't like it. I mean, I even saw a commenter that called her voice obnoxious and shouty. Or take the #1 rated movie on IMDb, Shawshank Redemption, with 1-star reviews that say things like, a pale imitation of better films. Okay, last one. Do you know what the best-selling novel of all time is? Don Quixote. Something like 500 million copies. It was published in 1605, and it's considered one of the most important books of all time. And yet, now in our time, we can find tons of comments like, I'm more glad than ever to live in a century where comedy is funny and paragraphs are short. I thought that was pretty good. The point is that you're never going to make something that is so successful that it receives no criticism. And so if that is the case, doesn't that make the sting of someone not liking your work at least a little less painful? Like, why should the fear of criticism have any hold on us? Well, all right. I think we did it. The doubts are gone. The struggles are solved. The self-conscious thoughts are reduced to nothing. It's okay if people don't love our work, right? No, obviously it's always going to be a challenge. I mean, for me, I have been able to make some progress in accepting that, but at the same time, I also like to make things that people will like, things that resonate, things that communicate from my heart and are actually heard and understood by others. Well, then you've waited for it. Here is the upside. By someone's standard, your work is good. You see what we're doing here? We just changed the last word. Because there's a whole other end of the spectrum from good to masterpiece. And someone else might look at your work with their subjective preferences and deem it somewhere further up the line. So especially if you are creating something in genuine passion, there are going to be people out there who Venn diagram nicely with the things that you make. Your perspective might be uniquely aligned to the desires of a certain audience. So keep making for that audience if you like it. They think that your work is good, so just accept the compliment because I've struggled with feeling like I need validation about my ideas or my projects, because creativity is a piece of us getting plucked out and reformatted into words and visuals and solutions, and then we look at it in the end and we think, hey, that's me in there. That's vulnerable. It's inherently exposing a part of ourselves, and then we have to let other people see it. I've showed people my music and I've told people my ideas. I've showed designs and I've stared down into the soul of the person I'm showing, looking for any micro expression that gives me the slightest inclination that they might hate it. And you know what? If you're struggling with confidence, if you look at your work and think, how could anyone like this? Just know that there are already people out there who would. And no, not just your mom, not just the people who love you, so they'll obviously love whatever you create. It's the people that know nothing about you. If given the chance to see it, they would appreciate it. Okay, we're almost done. Let's call this the outroduction. And that is that contrary to the way that it feels sometimes, the creativity that you put out there will not be the best or the worst creation in all of humanity. So that means that you don't have to constantly question whether people will like your work. You already have the answer. Some will, some won't. And yeah, a higher ratio of wills to won'ts sounds great, but getting stuck on that question just gets in the way of any meaningful progress. Some will like it and some won't. Do you know what knowing that does, it starts to melt away any of that mental energy that we put into desperately seeking validation. It frees us up to let other people's opinions just be opinions, and to let truth be truth, to honestly and humbly look at our work knowing that it's not the worst in history, it's not the best, it's somewhere in between. So that while we're making it, we can focus on making it better, not getting the validation, not protecting ourselves from failure. We make things and then we make them better. And when we're done, we can just enjoy it for what it is. It's a meaningful expression of ourselves and not an expression of our own meaning. If that's how each of us thought and lived, what would our world look like? What would your world look like? In the comments, I want to know which of these ones is harder for you, and how does it affect your creative practice? Please share it, and then maybe even comment on someone else's post as well, because we are building a community after all. And lastly, doing all of the things, subscribe, like, share, it goes a long way in growing this group of friends. So ready, set, go make something cool.